Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Kakwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of GMS that rule well. Peace and salutations to all the Akimath on the four corners, teaching the truth and sincerity. This is Dr. Amath of the GMS Dallas camp coming at you with a quick hit, or a quick lesson. Um, uh, Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Shai said, press the button, so I pressed the button. Um, uh, what I'm going to go into is something that the beloved brother Iraq went into last night, and he hinged on the point of the purification process that the elect has to go through, and that purification process is duly needed for us to come up on another level. All right, because Yahweh Shemi Shai is moving, and he's moving quickly to cast down Esau, Edom, and Babylon the Great. So with that, and with us getting to that new level, we have to be purged of all impurities. Okay, and it's just like gold. All right, a bar of gold isn't just formed in nature. It has dross, it has sticks, sand. It has to be cleaned up. Okay, so just like the men of Yahweh Shemiel Shai, we have to cast off this world and all the impure things that are in you. Okay, and it's all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemiel Shai. Okay, so I'm going to grab a couple points that he made, and then I'm going to add to it. Abarat's eyes is edifying once again. Okay, this is Ecclesiasticus chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 4 and go into 5. Okay, it says, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. Okay, so that means that in the walk that you're going through, this hell that you catch, though it occurs, you can't just take it and be a nigga in this world, and start warring against it. You have to take it cheerfully. Right? You have to take it like it's nothing, because really it's nothing. All right. What did Solomon say? Everything is vanity and vexation of spirit. Okay, especially in this world. Okay, I'll continue on. It says, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. All right, so you're gonna go through adverse changes in this thing that's going to pick at you. And that's what we go through on the daily. Little things get on our nerves that we can't change. Like we can't go and take out a Mo, because he's transgressing the law, statutes, and commandments to the how about Shemi Shai. All right, we can't have everything perfect on the side, because we're not sovereign. We're not a sovereign nation. Okay, Yahweh Shemi Shai is going to give us that glory on the next side. All right, but I'll read that again. It says, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of ad, adversity. Now, to hinge back on the point of that gold, gold isn't, coming to you clean. All right, you have to put it to the test. All right, and there's several ways to test gold. Okay, but the most potent and the most direct form is heat. All right, and whenever it's warmed up, it liquefies. There's a set number that gold melts at. All gold melts. If it doesn't melt, it's not gold. It's not real. Okay, it still has impurities in it, or it's mixed with another metal. All right, and that's what Yahweh Shemi Shai does not want. He doesn't want you to mix or mingle the doctrine. Okay, so um, I'll jump to Wisdom of Solomon. I think it's 2 and 8 or 3 and 8, Salakia. This is a impromptu as well. Uh, it's 2 and 6. Um, but I'll start at whew, well with this I'll start at 1. Hold on, Salaki. My phone's doing that thing again. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3. Let me jump on this one. Good. It says, man, yeah, it says, this is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 1, because going into it, Yahweh Shemi Shai is going to try us as gold, right? It says, but the souls of the righteous are in the hands of Yahweh Shemi Shai, and there shall no torment touch them. In the sight of the unwise, they seem to die, and their departure is taken for misery. All right. I'll read 3. It says, and their going from us is utter destruction, but they are in peace. So being in this thing of ours, though it looks like that we're catching holy hell, all right, really, it's just a stepping stone for us to get to the next glory. All right, we're all going from glory to glory. Whether it's a righteous glory or whether it's a wicked glory. Okay. Verse 4, it says, for though they be punished in Slakia, for though that they be punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope, full of immortality. So through Yahweh Shemel Shai, we're going to be stamped and be immortal, against these ways of the world, because the elect is going to stand stiffly. They're going to be that brazen wall, against the situations of this world, like gold. Gold is going to bend, a little bit, but it's not going to change its whole composition. Okay, it's not going to just say, okay, well, I'm going to be silver today, or I'm going to be tin. When tin is one of those things that burns away. I'll continue on. It says, and have been Salakia. It says, and have been a little chastened. All right, because we're chastened all the day long. All right, but I'll pull that in a little bit. It says, and have been a little chastened, they shall be greatly rewarded. All right, we're gonna be rewarded for these little stumbling blocks that we go through. All right, we're gonna be rewarded, through Yahweh Shemi Shai, giving us the spirit, the spirit of these scriptures. Okay, and that leads me to another precept. Like I said, I'll pull it here in a little bit. All right, but it says, and have been a little chastened, they shall be greatly rewarded. For Yahweh Shemi Shai proved them and found them worthy for himself. All right. So how has he proved them? Like that gold block, he has put heat to it. All right. And whenever you put heat to gold, it melts. So gold melts, but the dross doesn't. The dross is either burnt away or it's sifted out of the gold, so you can have that pure block. Okay, we want to be that pure block of gold before Yahweh Shemi Shai. And that leads me to another precept. But I'm going to jump to, I think it's Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12, uh, I think it's 21. No, it's 22. Because it talked about being chastened. All right. And we're chastened on this side because we're trying to get to the glory of Yahweh Shem Shai. Okay. Because we go off and we transgress the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shem Shai. So this is Wisdom of Solomon chapter 12 verse 22. It says, "Therefore, whereas thou doest chasten us, thou scourgest our enemies a thousand times more." It says, to the intent that when we judge, we should carefully think of thy goodness, and when we ourselves are judged, we for Salakia, and when ourselves are judged, we should look for mercy. So we should look for mercy from Yahweh Shem Shai to be, malleable, because gold is malleable. All right, we need to be malleable to understand that we ain't got it. I'll read that again. It says, "Therefore, whereas thou doest chasten us, thou scourgest our enemy a thousand times more, to the intent that when we judge, we should carefully think of thy goodness, and when we ourselves are judged, we should look for his mercies." Okay, because our enemies, the ones that seek not after Yahweh Shem Shai, they're going to be judged at a different level. All right, but their destruction is going to be utter destruction. All right, us, we're being chastened for correction. All right, and that's what leads us to that gold block. All right, because we're not utterly destroyed, because Yahweh Shem Shai said that he's not going to utterly destroy the house of Jacob. All right, everybody else is going to catch that L. But going back into this gold point, going back to that Wisdom of Solomon 2, well, Salakia, Wisdom of Solomon 3 and 5. I was on. I'll read 5 again and then go into 6. It says, "And have been a little chastened, that they shall be greatly rewarded. For Yahweh Shem Shai has proved him and found him worthy for himself. As gold in a furnace has he tried them and received them as a burnt offering." All right, because there are several tests. Gold can be tried with fire. In today's time, they have an acid test to see if gold melts, because everything is being tried against the gold to see if it changes its composition. Okay, but gold can change its form, but it's still that precious metal. All right, it's very scarce in the world because it comes from the heavens. All right, and it's just like the spirit. The spirit is placed upon us. All right, it comes from in us because Yahweh Shem Shai has put it in us in the womb. I hope I'm making sense, because all this accounts for that dross being burned away, that flack, that tin, the rocks, all that can be changed and removed. All right, to have that pure, spirit, because over here on this side, Esau Edom tries to continuously put wickedness in front of us. All right, just like it says in that Judith chapter 5 verse 20, loosely paraphrasing, going into how they tried to put wickedness and tried to separate us from our power. Esau Edom is doing the same thing. He's basically all the nations encompassed into one to keep us in that docile state of mind, so we don't acquire the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Shemel Shai to be translated or to get out of this wicked kingdom. Okay, but I'll pull that Revelations. So I get from all over the place as well. You know, that 2 and 9, because this goes into that gold, because that's how rich we are. We are so precious, in the eyes of Yahweh Shemel Shai. We are that jewel. And that jewel is formed through pressure and heat. So what more likened to the men of Yahweh Shemel Shai? Okay, but I'm gonna start. This is Revelation chapter 2, verse 9. It says, "I know thy works and thy tribulation and poverty." All right, because right now we're impoverished on this side. All right, because we went off, as it says in that Baruch chapter 1. In the latter verses, I think 13. Salakia. It says, "I know thy works and thy tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say that they are Jews, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan." Because no one else can be gold. Right now, we're gold that's not refined. All right, but through Yahweh Shemel Shai, which is the refiner's fire, we are being turned into that pure, solid brick. But these other nations, especially the gutter rats, that they are, as you say, taunting, taunting. If I'm saying that correctly, they are fake gold. Okay, they are imitation gold. That's what the ish on the back end of their name means. All right, that ish means to pertain to or to be like. All right, so whenever you say Jew-ish, you're pertaining to be a Jew. You're not one by blood. Okay, just to throw that point out there. I'll read it again. It says, "I know thy works and thy tribulation and poverty," Jake being in this Gentile state of mind. All right. It says, "But thou art rich." We are rich through the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Shemel Shai that flows through us and in us through us studying, and putting forth the effort. Because Yahweh Shemel Shai give you the rest if you put forth 10. He'll go far enough to give you 90% of everything that you need, and that's a joy. But Salaki, I didn't mean to make this long. But it says, "And I know the blasphemy of them which say that they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan." All right, because they are trying to create a their own blessing. Whenever how by Shemel Shai is going to give it to us freely. Okay, now I'm going to jump to Revelations 3 and 9, just to get these points off. It says, "Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not." Right, because they're putting forth a front. They are being they are choosing not to keep Yahweh Shemel Shai in all his ways. They have put their hand on the book, but they choose not to do the works that are in the book. Okay, just to make that point. It says, "Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie." That's put in there for a specific reason. It says, "But do lie." It says, "Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee," because the whole world's going to know that Yahweh Shemel Shai has honor and and glory in his people. All right, because everybody can't be gold. Everybody can't be gold. Everybody can't be a precious metal. Okay, uh, right now we have a stick that's thinking that he's worth it whenever there are trees everywhere. Right? Because that gold process, that spirit that's in the elect, isn't in it's like it isn't in every man. All right, they don't have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that's bestowed upon them. They don't go through the things that we go through on a daily. All right, hell is everywhere, and we have to follow the correct path and follow the correct doctrine because we got people going off now. All right, we got to follow the correct doctrine, and that doctrine is only given through the elders and apostles of GMS. All right, all the other camps have withered away and fell. All right, so be prudent on your goings. Okay, and again, Salaki for making this long. Abaratazah. I hope this is edifying unto the hopeful elect. Shalom and shalom.